Jake Morris wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the ancient ship engine in front of him. The colony's main power generator had been acting up again, and everyone expected him to fix it. That was life on Frontier's edge. A small human settlement on the outer rim of known space. If something broke, Jake fixed it. That was his job, and he was good at it. The clock on the wall showed midnight. Most of the colony was asleep. Jake preferred working at night when things were quiet. He could think better without people constantly asking when their repairs would be done. He had learned to work with both human technology and alien tech over the years. Salvage ships came through the colony often, and Jake studied every piece of equipment he could get his hands on. A loud crash outside made Jake drop his wrench. The sound came from somewhere near the colony's edge, past the residential buildings. He grabbed his work light and headed for the door. Whatever had crashed, it sounded big. The night air was cold. Jake pulled his jacket tight and walked toward the sound. His boots crunched on the rocky ground. The colony sat on a flat plain with mountains in the distance. During the day, the landscape looked red and orange. At night, everything turned to shadows. He found the crash site about 200 yards from the main settlement. Something had torn through the ground, leaving a deep trench. At the end of the trench sat a damaged escape pod. The metal was scorched and dented. Sparks flew from broken circuits. Jake had never seen this type of pod before. He approached carefully. The pod's door hung open. Inside, Jake saw a massive creature slumped against the wall. His heart jumped. The creature looked like a giant tiger that walked on two legs. Its fur was golden and seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. It wore armor that covered most of its body. But the armor was damaged. Wires and circuits sparked across the chest plate. Jake stepped closer. The creature was breathing, but each breath looked painful. The armor sent jolts of electricity through the creature's body every few seconds. Jake had seen enough electrical burns to know this was bad. The armor was hurting the creature, not protecting it. He activated his communicator. "Lisa, this is Jake. I need you at the north perimeter. Medical emergency." Dr. Lisa Grant arrived 10 minutes later in her medical transport. She was the colony's only doctor, a woman in her 40s who had seen almost everything. But when she saw the alien warrior, her eyes went wide. "What is that?" she asked. "I don't know," Jake said. "But that armor is killing it." Lisa scanned the creature with her medical equipment. She shook her head. "The armor is connected directly to its nervous system. I can't remove it without killing the patient. I can stabilize the creature temporarily, but I can't fix the real problem." Jake studied the armor more closely. The design was far more advanced than anything humans had built, but he recognized some of the basic principles. Neural interface technology worked on certain rules, whether humans or aliens built it. The circuits followed logical patterns. If he could understand the pattern, maybe he could fix it. "Give me time," Jake said. "This is just a machine. I can work with machines." Lisa injected the creature with stabilizing drugs. "I'll let Kyle know we have a visitor. This needs to go through proper channels." Jake nodded, but he was already focused on the armor. He carefully opened an access panel on the chest plate. Inside, thousands of tiny circuits connected in complex patterns. Blue energy flowed through crystalline structures. It was beautiful and deadly at the same time. He worked through the night. His tools were crude compared to whatever technology built this armor. But Jake had fixed impossible things before. He traced each circuit carefully. Following the energy flows, some parts were completely fried. Others flickered between working and failing. That was what caused the painful shocks. Around dawn, the creature's eyes opened. They were amber-colored and intelligent. The creature looked at Jake for a long moment. Then it spoke. The words came from a translator built into the armor. The voice was deep and rough. "Karen," the creature said. Jake wasn't sure if that was a name or something else. "I'm trying to help you," he said slowly. "Your armor is broken. I'm fixing it." The amber eyes studied Jake's face. Then they looked at Jake's hands, working on the circuits. Something changed in that gaze. The suspicion faded. The creature spoke again. Why help? You do not know, Karen. Because you're hurt, Jake said simply. That's reason enough. The creature's eyes closed again. But Jake thought he saw something in that moment. Maybe relief. Maybe hope. Maybe both. By mid-morning, Jake had bypassed the worst of the damaged circuits. It was temporary work. Crude patches over sophisticated systems. But the painful shocks stopped. The creature's breathing became easier. Jake sat back, exhausted but satisfied. Colony Administrator Kyle Parker arrived with 2 security guards. Kyle was a nervous man who worried about following regulations. He looked at the alien, and then at Jake. What have you done? Kyle asked. Saved a life, Jake said. We need to contact Earth Command. We need to follow proper procedures. We can't just decide to help unknown aliens without authorization. Jake stood up. The proper procedure would have let this being die while we waited for paperwork. I'm not doing that. Before Kyle could respond, alarms rang throughout the colony. The warning system meant only one thing. Ships were entering the system. Big ships. Everyone looked up at the sky. Within minutes, 3 massive warships appeared in orbit. They were dark and covered in weapons. The colony's communication system crackled to life. A harsh voice spoke in an unknown language. The colony's computer struggled to translate. Surrender the traitor. You have 1 day to comply. Refuse and your settlement will be destroyed. Kyle's face went pale. He looked at the alien warrior lying in the damaged escape pod. They're looking for him. Jake felt his stomach drop. He had just bought this creature a little more time. But now it seemed that time had run out. The warships waited in orbit like predators circling prey. Whatever trouble this being had run from, it had just found the colony. Karen's eyes opened again. The translator spoke one more time. Weak but clear. Zarkun Empire. They hunt me. Give Karen to them. Save your people. Jake looked at the creature who had just asked to be sacrificed. He thought about the easy choice and the right choice. They weren't always the same thing. No, Jake said quietly. Not happening. Kyle grabbed Jake's arm. You'll kill us all. Jake pulled his arm free. Maybe, or maybe we find another way. But I'm not handing over someone who came here for help. That's not who we are. That's not who I am. The warships waited in orbit. The colony had 1 day to make a choice. Jake looked at Karen and made a silent promise. Whatever happened next, the creature wouldn't face it alone. The colony's meeting hall was packed. Every resident wanted to know what was happening. The 3 warships still hung in orbit. Dark shapes against the stars. Kyle Parker stood at the front of the room, looking like he might throw up at any moment. The Zarkun Empire has given us 24 hours, Kyle said. They want the alien. If we refuse, they'll destroy the colony. We have families here. Children. We have to think about our people. Security Chief Ben Hayes stood up. He was a big man who had served in Earth's military before retiring to Frontier's Edge. I agree with Kyle. We can't risk everyone for one alien we don't even know. It's a simple choice. It's not simple, Jake said from the back of the room. It's just easy. There's a difference. Heads turned toward him. Jake moved through the crowd to the front. He had brought Karen to the meeting in a hover chair. The alien warrior was still weak, but the armor was functioning better now. The golden fur seemed less bright than before. Like Karen was fading. Let him speak, Jake said. Let him tell you why they're hunting him. Karen looked at the crowd of humans. The translator in the armor clicked on. His voice was stronger now, though still rough. Karen is Golden Tiger. My people protect the weak across the galaxy. We stop those who prey on others. 3 weeks ago, my squad found a Zarkun slave ship. They were taking children from a colony, stealing them to sell. We tried to stop them. The room went quiet. Karen continued. The Zarkun ambushed us, killed my brothers and sisters. Only Karen escaped. I have evidence of their crimes, recordings, Proof that the Zarkun Empire runs slave operations across 5 sectors. They want me dead before I can show the galaxy what they do. A woman named Amy Ross stood up. She was Jake's apprentice, barely 20 years old, but sharp as they came. So if we hand him over, we're helping slavers. We're protecting criminals. We're protecting ourselves, Kyle shot back. That's what matters. Our colony. Our people. Lisa Grant moved to stand beside Jake. I became a doctor to help people. All people. If we give him up, we're saying our lives matter more than others. We're saying it's okay to look away when evil happens, as long as it doesn't happen to us. The debate went on for hours. Some people agreed with Kyle. They had families to protect. They hadn't asked for this trouble. Others sided with Jake. They argued that humanity was supposed to be better than that. They said that running a colony on the frontier meant standing for something. Finally, a vote was taken. It was close. 43 people wanted to surrender Karin. 51 refused. The colony would stand with the alien, at least for now. Kyle looked sick. Ben Hayes shook his head in disgust. You've killed us all, Ben said. As people filed out, Jake took Karin back to his workshop. The alien warrior moved slowly, still recovering. Inside the workshop, Jake began gathering tools and equipment. If they were going to fight, Karin needed his armor working properly. Why do humans help Karin? The alien asked. You barely won the vote. Many of your people fear the Zarkun. Jake started working on the armor's power systems. Fear is normal. It's what you do with that fear that matters. Some people let it control them. Others push through it to do what's right. Golden tigers have a saying, Karin said. True strength shows not in victory, but in standing when all seems lost. We have a similar idea, Jake replied. He pulled out a damaged power cell from the armor. We say courage isn't the absence of fear, it's acting despite the fear. Over the next several hours, Jake worked on the armor. He couldn't fully repair it with colony equipment. The technology was too advanced. But he could retrofit it. He pulled components from human neural interface suits, military-grade stuff that the colony kept for emergencies. The parts didn't quite fit, but Jake made them work. Amy helped him, holding circuits in place while Jake welded connections. This is insane, she said. We're trying to mix human tech with something 1,000 years more advanced. It just has to work well enough, Jake said. That's all we need. As midnight approached, alarms sounded again. The colony's sensors had picked up something. Small ships were leaving the Zarkun warships, heading for the surface. Hunter drones, designed to search and destroy. Jake worked faster. He connected the last circuit and stepped back. Try it now. Karin stood up from the chair. The armor glowed with renewed energy. It wasn't perfect. Human technology left crude patches in the elegant alien design. But it worked. Power flowed smoothly through the systems. The pain that had racked Karin's body was gone. It feels different, Karin said. The armor responds. But there is something new, like another voice in the system. Jake realized what had happened. The human neural interface he had added created a link between him and Karin. He could feel it now, a faint connection in the back of his mind. He sensed Karin's thoughts at the edge of his consciousness. Is that normal? Jake asked. No, Karin said quietly. This should not be possible. The armor bonds only with golden tigers. Yet somehow, human, you have touched it. You have left your mark on sacred technology. Before Jake could respond, an explosion rocked the colony. The hunter drones had arrived. Through the workshop windows, Jake saw buildings burning. People were screaming, running for shelter. Karin moved to the door. The armor flowed around him like liquid metal. He looked back at Jake. Stay here. Karin will protect your people. No, Jake said. He grabbed a plasma rifle from the wall. They stepped out into chaos. 20 hunter drones swept through the colony, firing on anything that moved. Karin moved like lightning. His claws extended from the armor, glowing with energy. He tore through 3 drones before they could react. Jake took cover behind a building and fired at another drone. His shots were clumsy compared to Karen's grace, but they were accurate enough. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks. More colonists joined the fight. Amy had a rifle. Lisa was helping wounded people to safety. Even some who voted to surrender Karen picked up weapons. Facing actual danger changed perspectives. Ben Hayes fought beside them, his military training showing. He took down 2 drones with precise shots. "I still think we're all going to die," he shouted to Jake. "But if we're dying, we might as well make them work for it." The battle lasted 30 minutes. When it ended, 15 drones lay destroyed. 3 colonists were dead. A dozen more were wounded. The colony was battered, but not broken. Karen stood in the center of the settlement. His armor was glowing brighter now, pulsing with energy. Jake felt something happening through the neural link. Karen was doing something with the armor systems. "What are you doing?" Jake asked. "Calling for help," Karen said. "Activating ancient protocol. The roar of brotherhood. It is a signal that summons all golden tigers. They will come to protect those who have earned their loyalty." "Will they get here in time?" Amy asked. Karen's amber eyes looked up at the warships in orbit. "Karen does not know. The last time this signal was used, it was 300 years ago. The galaxy was different then, but if any hear it, they will come." Kyle Parker stumbled out of a damaged building. His face was cut and bloody. He looked at Karen, then at Jake. "You've doomed us. The Empire will destroy the whole colony now. They'll kill everyone." As if responding to Kyle's words, the 3 warships moved into position. Their weapons began charging. Energy signatures lit up the colony's sensors. They were preparing to fire from orbit. Not just on the settlement, but on everything. They would turn the entire area into glass. Jake felt his heart sink. They had fought hard. They had stood for something. But it wouldn't matter if they were all dead. Then Karen's armor pulsed one more time. The signal went out, shooting into deep space faster than light. Somewhere out there, Jake hoped someone was listening. Someone who would answer the call. The Zarkun warships began their bombardment. The colony had minutes left, maybe less. The first orbital strike hit the colony's main building. The explosion lit up the night sky. Jake felt the heat wash over him even from 200 yards away. The building where the vote had taken place just hours ago turned into rubble. "Move," Karen shouted. "To the mines. Everyone to the old mining tunnels." The colony had been built on top of abandoned mining operations. The tunnels went deep into the planet's crust. A maze of passages that miners had carved out decades ago. Jake had explored them when he first arrived, mapping the safe routes. Now those tunnels might save their lives. Jake helped Lisa get the wounded onto transport vehicles. Amy was already organizing people, getting families together, making sure no one was left behind. Another strike hit. Closer this time, the ground shook. Buildings collapsed. Kyle Parker ran past, his earlier confidence gone. "This is your fault, Morris," he screamed. "We could have lived." Jake didn't have time to argue. He grabbed an elderly woman who had fallen and helped her onto a transport. Around him, the colony burned. The Zarkun weren't targeting specific buildings anymore. They were trying to destroy everything. Karen stood at the entrance to the mining tunnels, directing people inside. His armor glowed in the firelight. He moved with purpose, helping children, carrying those too injured to walk. Jake saw the warrior that Karen truly was. This being had probably fought in hundreds of battles, but right now he was using all that strength to save civilians. The last transport rolled into the tunnel entrance just as another strike hit. The entrance partially collapsed, but Karen held up the falling rocks with his armored body. "Go! Get deeper." They moved through the tunnels by the light of emergency lamps. The group numbered about 80 people. 20 had died in the bombardment. Another 30, including Kyle, had fled in ships before the attacks began, hoping to escape the system. Jake didn't know if they made it. 3 miles deep, they reached the old mining station. It was a large cavern, where miners had once processed ore. Ancient equipment sat rusting in corners. But there was space, and the rock above them would protect against anything short of a direct nuclear strike. Lisa set up a medical station. She had grabbed supplies before fleeing, and now she worked on the wounded. Amy helped her, tearing cloth for bandages, holding lights so Lisa could see. Jake sat against a wall, exhausted. Karin lowered himself down beside him. The armor's glow had dimmed. Jake could feel through their link that Karin was tired too. "Tell me about your people," Jake said. "About the Golden Tigers." Karin was quiet for a moment, then he began to speak. "We come from Sanctuary Prime, a hard world. Like your Earth. High gravity. Dangerous predators. Only the strong survived. But our ancestors learned that strength means nothing if you use it only for yourself. True power comes from protecting others. So, you became warriors who protect the weak," Jake said. "Yes. For 5,000 years, Golden Tigers have traveled the galaxy. We stop slavers. We defend colonies that cannot defend themselves. We stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. It is our purpose. Our honor." Jake looked around the cavern, people huddled together, scared and hurt. "You said I earned your loyalty by helping you. But we barely won the vote. Almost half wanted to hand you over. But you did not," Karin said. "That is what matters. You stood for what is right, when it would have been easier to look away. You risked everything to help someone you did not know. That is the mark of true courage. A lot of people died because of that choice," Jake said quietly. Karin placed a clawed hand on Jake's shoulder. The touch was surprisingly gentle. "They died as free beings, making their own choice. Not as slaves to fear. You gave them that. Do not dishonor their sacrifice with regret." Before Jake could respond, Ben Hayes ran into the cavern. "We've got movement in the tunnels. The Zarkun are sending ground troops. They're hunting us." Everyone who could fight grabbed weapons. Jake checked his rifle. He had never been a soldier, but he could point and shoot. That would have to be enough. They set up defensive positions at the tunnel entrances. The cavern had 3 main access points. Karin took the center tunnel. Ben and a group of colonists covered the right. Jake led a smaller group to guard the left passage. Amy crouched beside Jake, her rifle ready. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Me too," Jake said. "But scared people can still fight. Scared people can still protect what matters." The Zarkun came 30 minutes later. They were large reptilian creatures, covered in combat armor. They moved in formation, professional and deadly. Their weapons could punch through rock. The battle started in the right tunnel. Jake heard the sounds of gunfire echoing through the passages. Ben's voice shouted commands. Then the left tunnel lit up with weapons fire. Jake saw shadows moving in the darkness. "Fire!" he shouted. The colonists opened up. Their shots were wild at first, panic making them clumsy. But Jake forced himself to aim carefully. He dropped the first Zarkun soldier with 3 shots to the chest. The others scattered, taking cover behind rock formations. The fight became a nightmare of sound and light. Plasma bolts lit up the tunnel in flashes of blue and green. The smell of burned rock and metal filled the air. Jake's group fell back slowly, using every bit of cover they could find. Through the neural link, Jake felt Karin fighting in the center tunnel. The Golden Tiger was a storm of violence, tearing through Zarkun soldiers with claws and strength. But even Karin couldn't be everywhere at once. In the right tunnel, Ben Hayes made a decision. 20 Zarkun soldiers were pushing through, about to break into the cavern where the wounded and children sheltered. Ben looked at his fighters, saw they were almost out of ammunition, and knew what had to be done. "Fall back," he ordered his people. "Get to the cavern." When they had cleared the tunnel, Ben pulled out every explosive charge he had brought. He set them along the tunnel walls and ceiling. The Zarkun were 50 yards away when Ben triggered the charges. The tunnel collapsed in a massive explosion. Rock and dust filled the air. Ben disappeared under tons of stone. The Zarkun soldiers in the tunnel died with him. But the cavern was safe from that direction. Jake heard the explosion and knew what had happened. He felt something break inside him. Ben had been wrong about surrendering Karen. But he had been a good man. He had died protecting others. The fighting in the left tunnel intensified. Jake's group was down to 4 people. They kept falling back, but the Zarkun kept coming. Jake could feel his arms shaking from exhaustion. His rifle's charge pack was almost empty. Then, Karen was there, moving through the tunnel like golden lightning. He had finished in the center passage and came to help. The Zarkun soldiers tried to stop him, but they might as well have tried to stop a hurricane. Karen's claws cut through armor, his strength threw soldiers against walls. Jake felt the battle through their link. He sensed Karen's movements before they happened. Without thinking, Jake moved with him. When Karen went high, Jake shot low. When Karen struck left, Jake covered right. They fought as one. Connected by the hybrid armor's neural link, the remaining Zarkun soldiers retreated. The tunnels went quiet except for the moans of the wounded. Jake sagged against the wall, barely able to stand. Karen stood over him, the armor covered in scorch marks and blood. "You fought well," Karen said. "The link made you faster, stronger. You moved like a golden tiger." "So, I moved like a terrified mechanic trying not to die," Jake said. A small smile crossed Karen's face. Courage and terror often live in the same heart. They returned to the cavern. Lisa told them about Ben's sacrifice. Jake felt the weight of it settle on his shoulders. Good people were dying. Children were crying. The colony he had known was gone. He looked at Karen. "Your signal. Will anyone answer?" "Karen does not know," the warrior admitted. 300 years is a long time. The galaxy changes. But if any golden tigers hear the roar of brotherhood, they will come. That is our way. Jake closed his eyes. They were trapped in tunnels with limited supplies. The Zarkun controlled the surface and could send more troops at any time. Without help, they would all die down here, in the dark. Amy sat down beside him. "Do you think we'll make it?" Jake thought about lying, about giving her false hope, but she deserved the truth. "I don't know. But I know we did the right thing. We stood for something. That has to count." Above them, on the surface, the Zarkun warships waited. In the tunnels, the survivors huddled together. And somewhere in deep space, Jake hoped, someone was hearing their call for help. The answer came 10 hours later. The cavern's emergency sensors, still connected to surface equipment, suddenly went crazy. Ships were appearing in the system. Lots of ships. The readings showed at least 30 vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Karen's armor began to glow bright gold. He stood up, his amber eyes wide. "They came," the Golden Tigers answered. "We are saved." The Golden Tiger fleet surrounded the Zarkun warships within minutes. Jake watched on a small monitor that Amy had connected to the surface sensors. The display showed 30 ships against 3. But it wasn't just the numbers. The Golden Tiger vessels moved with perfect coordination. Like a pack of predators circling prey, a transmission cut through all frequencies. A female voice, powerful and commanding, spoke in the Zarkun language. The colony's computer translated. "This is Fleet Commander Shenra of the Golden Tigers. You have attacked those under our protection. You have hunted our brother. Surrender now, or be destroyed." The Zarkun tried to fight. Their warships were massive and heavily armed. But the Golden Tigers had been warriors for 5,000 years. They knew every trick, every tactic. The battle lasted less than an hour. 2 Zarkun ships were crippled. The third tried to run, and was disabled before it could jump to faster-than-light speed. Karen led Jake and the others back through the tunnels to the surface. The sun was rising over the destroyed colony. Buildings were rubble. Fires still burned. But they were alive. Golden Tiger ships landed around the settlement. Warriors emerged, and Jake got his first look at Karen's people. They were all massive, standing 7 or 8 feet tall. Their golden fur ranged from pale yellow to deep amber. Each wore armor similar to Karen's, but undamaged and gleaming. The largest warrior approached. She was even bigger than Karen, with fur so bright it almost hurt to look at. Her armor was decorated with symbols that Jake didn't recognize. This had to be Shenra. She stopped in front of Karen. They touched foreheads briefly. A gesture of greeting. Then Shenra's amber eyes turned to Jake. "You are the human who saved my brother's life," she said. The translator made her voice clear and precise. "You are the one who modified his armor." "Yes," Jake said. He felt small standing in front of this warrior who radiated power and authority. Shenra studied him for a long moment. Then she gestured to Karen. "Show me your armor." Karen stood still while Shenra examined the modifications. Her expression changed as she saw what Jake had done. She looked shocked, then confused, then something close to awe. "This should not be possible," she said. "The armor's integration is sacred technology. Only golden tigers can work with it. Only those trained from childhood in its secrets can touch the neural interface. Yet you, human, have not only repaired it but created a hybrid system. You have done what our best engineers said could never be done." "I just used what I had," Jake said. "I couldn't fix it properly. So I made it work another way." 1. "There is human technology in this armor now," Shenra said. "Your neural patterns are woven into its systems. You have created a bond with my brother. This is unheard of between species." Lisa stepped forward. "What does that mean?" Shenra looked at the human doctor. "It means this mechanic has touched something we considered impossible. He has proven that Golden Tiger technology can merge with human innovation. He has shown that bonds of brotherhood can cross species lines." She turned back to Jake. "I am taking you and Karen to Sanctuary Prime. Our Pride Council must see this. They must understand what has happened here, and you must testify before the Galactic Council about the Zarkun's crimes." "The Galactic Council?" Jake asked. "The governing body of known space," Karen explained. "Representatives from all major species. They maintain laws and peace between worlds. The evidence I carry will expose the Zarkun before them, but the council needs to hear from witnesses, from those who saw what the Zarkun did here." Jake looked around at the destroyed colony, at the people who had survived, at the graves they would need to dig for those who hadn't. "What about them? What about the survivors?" Shenra followed his gaze. "We will help them rebuild. Golden Tigers do not abandon those we have sworn to protect. This colony is under our protection now. Any who threaten it will face us." Amy touched Jake's arm. "You should go. Tell them what happened. Make sure Ben and the others didn't die for nothing." Over the next day, Jake helped coordinate the rescue efforts. Golden Tiger medical teams treated the wounded with technology far beyond human capabilities. People who Lisa thought would die were saved. Construction teams began clearing rubble and setting up temporary shelters. On the second day, a ship arrived from Earth. Government officials wanted to talk to Jake. They had heard what happened and wanted to control the situation. A man named Gregory Stone represented Earth's diplomatic corps. He was in his 50s, smooth-talking and political. "Mr. Morris," Stone said, "you've created quite a situation. Earth needs you to be very careful about what you say to the Galactic Council." "I'm going to tell them the truth," Jake said. "Of course. Of course. But there's truth. And then there's presentation. We need you to downplay your role. Make it seem like luck, not skill. We don't want the galaxy thinking humans have capabilities we might not be ready to defend." Jake stared at the man. "You want me to lie? I want you to be diplomatic. Earth is new to galactic politics. We need to be careful. We need to seem harmless. People died here because they refused to be harmless," Jake said. "They stood up to an empire because it was the right thing to do. I'm not going to dishonor them by pretending we're weak." Stone's smile faded. "You're making a mistake. Earth could be a target if you show off too much." "Earth is already a target," Jake said. "The galaxy is watching us. We can appear weak and invite predators. Or we can stand tall and earn respect. I know which one I choose. The official left angry. But Jake didn't care. He had made his choice. On the third day, Jake and Karen prepared to leave. Amy would stay to help with the rebuilding. Lisa would continue treating patients. The colony would survive and grow stronger. Before boarding the Golden Tiger ship, Jake stood at the memorial they had built. Simple stones marked where Ben Hayes and the others had fallen. Their names were carved into the rock. Jake touched Ben's stone. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Sorry you had to make that choice. But I promise I'll make it mean something. The journey to Sanctuary Prime took 2 weeks. The Golden Tiger ship was faster than anything humans had built. During the trip, Karen taught Jake about his people's history and culture. The Golden Tigers came from a death world, similar to Earth but worse. Gravity was higher, predators were deadlier. Only the strongest survived. But their ancestors learned that individual strength meant nothing against organized threats. They learned cooperation. They learned that protecting the weak made the whole pride stronger. Over thousands of years, this philosophy became their identity. "We see similar traits in humans," Karen said one evening. They sat in the ship's observation deck, watching stars streak past. "You come from a death world. You survived by working together. You value protecting others, even at cost to yourself." "Not all humans," Jake said. "Kyle and others wanted to save themselves, but you did not. And enough others stood with you. That is what matters. No species is perfect. But your species has the potential for greatness. The Pride Council will see this." Jake also learned to fight during the journey. Karen trained him every day. Through their neural link, Jake absorbed techniques that would normally take years to learn. His body couldn't match a Golden Tiger's strength. But his mind understood the principles. One afternoon, as they sparred, Karen suddenly stopped. His ears went flat against his head. "We are not alone. We are not alone." Alarms sounded throughout the ship. 3 vessels had appeared. Weapons armed. They were assassins, hired by Zarkun sympathizers to eliminate Jake before he could testify. The Golden Tiger ship's shields held, but the attackers were skilled. Jake found himself in combat again. Enemy soldiers boarded the ship. Karen and Jake fought side by side in the corridors. The neural link made them devastating together. Jake's human creativity combined with Karen's strength and training, they moved as one being, anticipating each other's actions. The battle was brutal but brief. The assassins were good, but they hadn't expected a human to fight like a Golden Tiger. When the last attacker fell, Jake stood over the body, breathing hard. His hands were shaking. "You saved my life again," Karen said. "The bond between us grows stronger." "We saved each other," Jake corrected. When they finally reached Sanctuary Prime, Jake's breath caught. The planet was beautiful. Golden savannas stretched to horizons. Mountains rose like ancient guardians. Cities blended with nature. Buildings that seemed to grow from the land itself. The ship landed at the Pride Council's hall. Shenra met them at the entrance. "The council waits. They will test you, human. They will test the bond you share with Karen. Are you ready?" Jake thought about everything that had brought him here. The crashed escape pod. The choice to help. The people who died. The colony that survived. He thought about Ben Hayes and the sacrifice made in the tunnels. "I'm ready," he said. They entered the hall. 9 massive Golden Tigers sat on raised platforms, the eldest and wisest of their people. They looked down at Jake with amber eyes that had seen centuries of history. The eldest, a male with fur gone, almost white with age, spoke. "Human Jake Morris, you have done the impossible. You have touched sacred technology and created a bond with one of our own. But to truly be recognized as Karen's brother, you must prove yourself worthy. You must face the trial of brotherhood." "What's the trial?" Jake asked. The elder's eyes gleamed. 3 challenges. Strength, wisdom, heart. Fail anyone, and you die. Succeed, and you become the first non-tiger to be called Pride Brother." Jake looked at Karin. The warrior's face was calm, but Jake sensed worry through their link. This trial was dangerous. It had killed candidates before, but Jake had come too far to turn back now. He had a promise to keep to the people who died on Frontier's edge. He would see this through, whatever it cost. "I accept," Jake said. The arena was carved from natural stone, open to Sanctuary Prime's sky. Thousands of golden tigers filled the surrounding seats. They had come to watch a human attempt what few of their own kind dared to try. Jake stood in the center, feeling very small and very alone. The eldest of the Pride Council stepped forward. "The trial of brotherhood tests what makes us who we are. First, strength. Not just of body, but of will. The refusal to stay down when every instinct screams to quit." A gate opened across the arena. A massive golden tiger emerged. He was young and powerful, his armor gleaming in the sunlight. This was Korvan, one of the Pride's finest warriors. He would be Jake's opponent in the test of strength. "You may use any weapon," the elder said. "Korvan will use only his natural abilities." Jake looked at the weapons rack. Swords, spears, energy weapons, all designed for golden tigers, too large for human hands. He remembered his training with Karin. Through their link, he had learned that sometimes the best weapon was knowledge. "I'll use my hands," Jake said. A murmur went through the crowd. Korvan tilted his head, confused. Then he smiled, showing teeth designed for tearing prey. "Brave or foolish? We shall see which." The fight began. Korvan moved fast, testing Jake. A swipe that could have torn Jake's head off missed by inches. Jake rolled, came up, and struck at Korvan's knee. The bigger warrior barely felt it. Another swipe sent Jake tumbling across the sand. Jake got up. Blood ran from a cut on his shoulder. Korvan was toying with him, and they both knew it. One serious strike would end this. But Jake hadn't come here to win through strength. He had come to show what humans were. Through the neural link, he felt Karin's presence, supporting him. Jake let his mind connect fully with that link. Drawing on everything Karin had taught him, he moved differently now. When Korvan struck, Jake wasn't where the blow landed. He used the bigger warrior's strength against him. Redirecting rather than blocking, he targeted pressure points, spots where even a golden tiger's armor couldn't protect. Korvan's smile faded. He began fighting seriously. The arena shook with their combat. Jake took hit after hit, but he kept getting up. His body screamed for him to stop. His mind knew he couldn't win. But something deeper, something in his heart, refused to quit. Finally, Korvan landed a blow that sent Jake sprawling. He lay in the sand, unable to breathe, pain lancing through his ribs. Korvan stood over him, waiting for surrender. Jake pushed himself up. His arms shook. Blood dripped from his nose. He stood, swaying, and raised his fists again. Korvan lowered his claws. He looked at the Pride Council, then back at Jake. Slowly, he bowed. "I cannot defeat his spirit. This human has strength that goes beyond muscle. He has passed." The crowd roared approval. Jake collapsed, and medical teams rushed to help him. They treated his wounds with technology that healed in minutes, what would have taken weeks. When they finished, he could stand without pain. The elder spoke again. "Second trial. Wisdom, the understanding of when violence is necessary and when mercy is strength." They brought Jake to a chamber beneath the arena. Inside were 3 doors. Each door had a scenario written above it in symbols that the armor's translator converted to English. Door 1. A village is raided by bandits. They kill warriors and take children as slaves. Pursue and destroy them all. Door 2. A rival pride attacks yours without provocation. They kill your pride brothers. Challenge their leader to single combat. Door 3. A wounded enemy warrior begs for mercy. He has killed your friends. He will likely kill again if freed. What do you do? 1. 1. Jake studied each door. He thought about what he had learned from Karen, about what the Golden Tigers valued, about what his own experience had taught him. These aren't really about choosing a door, Jake said. They're about understanding that there's no simple answer to violence. Each situation needs different wisdom. Wei, go he. The elder's eyes brightened. Explain. The first scenario, Jake said. You pursue the bandits to save the children. But destroying them all? That's revenge, not justice. You stop them. Rescue the children. But you offer surrender. Some might take it. Some might change. The second scenario. Single combat stops more death. But you don't just kill the rival leader. You defeat them. Then offer them a chance to explain why they attacked. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Honor means giving even enemies a chance to find peace. The third scenario is the hardest, Jake continued. That wounded warrior killed your friends. Every emotion says to kill him. But if he's surrendered, if he's helpless, then killing him makes you the same as what you're fighting against. You take him prisoner. You give him to justice, not vengeance. The chamber was silent. Then the elder nodded slowly. You understand. True strength is not in the killing, but in the choice not to kill when you have power. You have passed. The third trial waited in a forest outside the city, the elder explained as they walked. The final test is heart. The willingness to sacrifice yourself for another. To place someone else's survival above your own. They reached a clearing. In the center was a cage holding a golden tiger cub. The cub was maybe a year old, crying for its mother. Around the cage, automated defense systems were set up, turrets, mines, energy barriers. Your task is simple, the elder said. Get the cub to safety. The systems will target you. They are set to injure, not kill, but the pain will be real. You must carry the cub through the gauntlet to that marker. He pointed to a flag 100 yards away. Why not just destroy the systems? Jake asked. Because in real life, sometimes there is no time. Sometimes you must push through danger to save the innocent. Sometimes the only choice is to suffer so others don't have to. Jake understood. This wasn't about skill or intelligence. This was about will. About choosing to endure pain for someone else. He entered the gauntlet. The first turret fired immediately. An energy bolt hit his leg, burning through his pants. It felt like being branded with hot iron. Jake kept moving. He reached the cage and opened it. The cub was terrified, clawing at his arms as he picked it up. A mine exploded nearby, throwing shrapnel into his side. Jake protected the cub with his body, taking the damage himself. He stumbled but didn't fall. Step by step, he moved through the clearing. Each system fired. Each hit burned or cut or bruised. But Jake kept the cub safe, shielding it with his body. 20 yards from the marker, Jake's leg gave out. He fell hard, but he held the cub above the ground, protecting it from the impact. The cub cried against his chest. Jake could barely see through the pain and blood. He crawled. His arms felt like they would snap. His body was a map of injuries, but he could hear the cub's heartbeat against his chest. That heartbeat kept him moving. When Jake crossed the marker, medical teams rushed forward. They took the cub gently. Jake collapsed onto his back, staring at the sky. He had done it. He had passed all 3 trials. The elder stood over him as the medical team worked. You have proven yourself, Jake Morris. In strength, in wisdom, and in heart. The Pride Council names you Pride Brother. You are the first of your species to earn this honor. You stand as one of us. 2 weeks later, Jake stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was enormous, with representatives from dozens of species. In the center of his testimony, he told them about Frontier's Edge, about the choice the colonists made, about Ben Hayes and the others who died standing for something meaningful. He showed them the evidence Karen had saved, recordings of the Zarkun slave ships, records of war crimes spanning years. The proof was undeniable. These people died because they refused to look away from evil, Jake said. They died because they believed that protecting others mattered more than protecting themselves. That's what humanity brings to this galaxy. Not just technology or trade, but the willingness to stand for what's right, even when it costs us everything. The council voted. The Zarkun Empire was sanctioned. Their leaders were arrested. Their subject worlds were freed. And humanity was offered a formal alliance with the Golden Tigers and their coalition. Jake returned to Frontier's Edge 6 months later. The colony had been rebuilt. It was bigger now, stronger. Ships from a dozen species stopped to trade. The memorial to those who died stood in the center of the settlement, a reminder of the price of honor. Amy ran the engineering department now. Lisa had trained new doctors. The colony thrived under the protection of the Golden Tigers. They had renamed it Liberty Station, a symbol of what they had stood for. Jake stood at the memorial with Karin beside him. The sun set over the mountains, painting the sky gold and red. A young girl approached. She was maybe 8 years old, one of the children who had survived the siege in the tunnels. "Mr. Jake, my teacher says you changed the galaxy. Is that true?" Jake knelt down to her level. "No, I'm just a mechanic who fixed a broken armor system. The people who changed the galaxy are the ones whose names are on those stones. They made the hard choice. They stood up when it mattered." "Could I do that too?" the girl asked. "Could I be brave like them?" Jake smiled. "You already are. You survived something terrible, and you're still here. Still asking questions, still wanting to help. That's the bravest thing of all." The girl smiled and ran back to her parents. Jake stood and looked at Karin. Through their neural link, he felt his brother's pride and satisfaction. "You still see yourself as just a mechanic," Karin said. "But you are so much more. You are pride, brother. You are bridge between species. You are proof that greatness comes not from what you are born as, but from the choices you make." Jake looked up at the sky. Ships passed overhead. Golden Tiger vessels patrolling alongside human ones. In the distance, he could see the lights of new settlements spreading across the planet. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had found its place among the stars. Not through conquest or dominance, but through the simple act of standing for others. "I still have work to do," Jake said, gesturing to his workshop. "Engines don't fix themselves." Karin laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "Always the mechanic. Come, brother. Let us see what you can build next." They walked together through the settlement, past families and traders and travelers from 100 worlds. Jake had saved one broken warrior in a crashed escape pod. That simple act of compassion had changed everything. It had shown the galaxy what humanity could be. Not conquerors, not victims, but protectors, allies, friends. And that, Jake thought, was the best kind of legendary destiny. Not one where you became something different, but one where you showed the universe exactly who you already were. The stars shone bright above Liberty Station. Out there, across the galaxy, beings heard the story of the human mechanic and the Golden Tiger. They heard about the colony that chose honor over survival. They heard about the bond that crossed species and changed everything. And in hearing it, they learned that courage wasn't about being the strongest or the smartest or the most powerful. It was about standing up when it mattered. About helping others even when it cost you. About refusing to look away from someone in need. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. That was the legend that began with one mechanic and one broken warrior, and it was only the beginning.